G'day guys, welcome back to the Fon Supercoach YouTube channel. Today we will be reviewing round 21, discussing some of the players that are killing me and some learnings for next year. So this week I scored 2,638, which I didn't think was going to be a good score, but I didn't expect it to be this bad, which resulted in me falling 262 ranks down to rank 647. I was hoping I'd hold on to the top 500 rank this season. Unfortunately, there are too many premiums that I don't own that are caning me every week. Unfortunately, I'm going to lose that. We'll discuss some of those decisions that led to me being in this position when we get into it. All right. In defense, Wanganeen Millera was very good against North. We take a 108, obviously. He had a lot of turnovers early, which kind of hurt his scoring, but he was running rings around North at times as well. Sinclair was very solid, 128. We take that. Connor Rosie did not play. Apparently, he didn't fly, so he was unwell, which is why he missed. He's not injured, and he just didn't fly. Now, normally, we hear about players not getting on the plane before games, so... yeah, that's a strange one. I did see the laid out and have time to trade him, but I felt like I would hold that trade because I thought it would be more valuable. I'm wondering if holding this trade is now hurting me more than it's helping me. I'm concerned with trading because if a high-owned player goes down and I can't trade them, then it's pretty bad. But I do have 24. So maybe... There's not really any matchup that's going to absolutely cane me this week, I don't think. I could go... Chair is the one that I'd want to move. Well, we'll talk about that at the end, maybe. Anyway, Rosie was injured, so that's fine. Whitfield... Sorry, he was ill. Whitfield, 126. The Giants got absolutely smacked in this game, so Whitfield and Ash had a heap of the ball. That's just sort of what you expect. Halfbacks generally go okay against the Dogs as well, so... yeah, that was a nice little fill-up for Lockie Whitfield. And then Dale in the worst matchup for half-backs went average. So he's going average in the bad matchups and average in the good matchups. So I shouldn't really complain, but I wanted a little bit more from Dale. This was a pretty bad pick in the end, I think. So, that is unfortunate. And then Zorko, 101 against Collingwood. Didn't look like he was as hampered as I have seen him in previous weeks. I don't know why that would be the case. Apparently he's playing with a Liz Frank injury, so generally that's pretty nasty. So it's pretty impressive that he's playing on through it, to be honest. I do think the lines look so much better when Zorko's carving teams up, so hopefully for them he can stay out there. And then Nguyen was pretty good on debut, but playing lockdown defense, so only scored the 44, which was the score that dropped off for me. Then Bont, 151. I guess you should just always vice-captain Bont if he plays on Thursday or Friday. It's my bad for that. The Giants got smacked at clearance and at contests, and the Bont was a big part of that. So, yeah, he was terrific. Marvellous player. And then Nick Dacos, 110. He was going really well up until the fourth quarter when the Lions sort of wrestled control of that game. And, I think he only had one or two disposals in the last quarter, so a little bit of a shame. But yeah, we still take a 110, obviously. And then Jordan Dawson, 149 against the Hawks. I thought Nash would sit on him and he'd get clamped. Then he'd go forward and get either Hardwick or Sicily. But that wasn't the case, and Dawson was very good. I think he kicked a nice goal. Hit Philthorpe up for some goal assists, which we love. I'll talk about that when I get to Philthorpe. But yeah, he was terrific. A true captain's game from Jordan Dawson. And just on a side note, this game was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this game and the Brisbane-Collingwood game this weekend. They were awesome games, which I feel like we've been deprived of this year. Last year, we had a heap of really good games and the season was super engaging. Whereas I feel like this part in the season, we're getting 6 or so games a week that are borderline unwatchable. There were 3 games this week that were watchable for me. Those 2 that I mentioned and the Melbourne game because I go for Melbourne. But, that's just how this season has gone, where the top 9 teams are so much better than the rest of the comp. But yeah, also in this game, there's some really soft 50-metre penalties that I feel like we just got to relax a little bit, I thought the umpiring wasn't too bad for the most part, apart from those 50-metre penalties, but Anyway, obviously didn't affect the result. Not that I care. I'm a Melbourne supporter. And yeah, Tom Green, 79. As I said, the Dogs smashed the Giants at clearance, and Tom Green can't score when he's not getting going at clearance because that's sort of how he scores all of his points. Then Zach Butters got O'Sheen Mulland. Fair play to Geelong. They found a very good tagger capable of tagging these really damaging outside players. The Butterses, the Dacoses. I'm sure he would go to Goulden if the Swans were still relevant. If they play the Dogs, I reckon he could go to Richards. So, yeah, he's a very, very good tagger. Got the right profile where he's quick, he's strong, and he is has a good tank. So, yeah, the Geelong coaching staff have done very well with that one. And then Brayshaw and Sarong, 101 and 75. They were asleep for the first 3 quarters of the game, just like the Dockers were, and then piled on some bigger scores in the last quarter. I think Brayshaw was on about 66 and Sarong was in the 40s at 3/4 time. So they pulled it back. But yeah, this Sarong trading has been an absolute disaster. I'll talk about that once I get through the rest of the team. Yeah, Chera was injured. I think he had a knee knock. He's expected to play this week. I'll discuss my last trade in a sec. Maybe I'll use that this week. We'll see. And then McCarthy, 123, had a good matchup and was excellent. Got some CBAs as well. I think there's a genuine question about whether or not we start this guy next year as a premium. There's probably going to be upside on his price given he hasn't had a preseason with the club yet. And it's his first 6 months of AFL. So yeah, I think there's a genuine question there. This guy's only going to get better, and he is genuinely very good at what he's doing. He's not just, it's not just because he's playing for West Coast and teams are taking it easy against him. I assume he would get attention if it was required to beat West Coast, but yeah, he's going very well. And then Gross, 41 on the bench, didn't count, but yeah, he played a full game and he was didn't take much notice of him, to be honest, after the first quarter. Gawn, 131, would have liked a little bit more from the big fella, but he was very good, and we take a 131 captaincy score. Marshall, 144 on North with no Cherry, so yeah, that was sort of to be expected. And yeah, great score. We love that. Smith, 119. Salty non-Holmes owner here. I don't know why Drew wasn't tagging. I presume that was because Port season is over and he's just released the shackles. But yeah, I would have thought that running with one of these guys would have made a huge difference. Maybe that's just me not owning Max Holmes and it's killing me speaking, but that's what I would have thought. And then Phil Thornton, 90. Hawthorn's defence is tough to score against, I would suggest, with Barras and Battle and Sicily and Scrimshaw and all those guys back there. So we take a 90 for a forward in this game. I spoke about the Bont kicking to Darcy in the forward line connection, I think a few weeks ago when the Dogs played Richmond. Dawson and Thilthorpe were doing that this week, and that was a joy to watch. Owning key forwards is so weird because the lows absolutely suck, but when you own a midfielder who is just kicking it to a key forward who's taking contested marks and kicking goals in bulk, it's very fun to watch. So, yeah, that's been very enjoyable. And then Darcy, 119 on Sam Taylor. I think this guy is, as I said with McCarthy, I think he's a starting option next year, depending on how berserk he goes in the next few games. He's just really good and super hard to stop. Because he's so tall, he gets heaps of free kicks from like chopping the arms and that sort of thing. I don't think he's playing for them. It's just more obvious because he's tall and lanky. But he's also taking heaps of contested marks and kicking goals, got really good skills. So, yeah, he's a ripper of a player. Isaac Rankin, 129. Awesome score against the Hawks. Isaac was very good as well, as I said, with Dawson. And then Petrarca, 117 against West Coast. Yeah, just a solid game. Played a bit more forward this week, which I think is going to persist for the rest of the year as they expose Windsor, Langford and Lindsay a little bit more into the centre bounces. I don't know if Langford had any CBAs this week, but I know Pickett's got high CBAs at the moment as well. But yeah, very interesting. Windsor's an interesting one for next year. If he can learn to accumulate in the off-season a bit better, he will be a very juicy mid-pricer, I reckon, if he has the role. So, yeah, one to watch for next year. But, yeah, Petrarca was solid in that forward role. Then Caleb Daniel, 142. This guy's defending is atrocious. I don't know how he justifies his spot in the side because his defending is terrible. Like, he's genuinely... The teams are just targeting him. They are looking for the little guy in the helmet and they are kicking it to his opponent. That's what's happening. And his ball use is not carving teams up in a manner that justifies him playing as a liability in defence. So I don't know how he's still holding his spot. I did suggest that he would be tradable because he got moved forward a bit last week and I thought he would lose this role. He did not. I'm sorry if you traded him out on my advice. This pick has been so confusing for the last 10 weeks for me. So, but I've benefited from it, so I'm not complaining. And then McKercher 123. They look a lot better when McKercher is running off half-back, getting handball receives and kicking into forward 50. I think he gave away a 50 and a free kick at the end of the game that resulted in a goal, and he lost like 14 points or something like that from it. But it is what it is. Scoring really well. Looking like one to start next year if he keeps this half-back role, which he should, because he's a half-back. I'm telling you, Clarko. This guy is a half-back. He's got the speed. He's got the creativity to be a very good half-back. And I think he's got the running capacity as well. So, yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't be. I would be sending Caleb Daniel to the Gulag and playing some good defenders. Sorry, my screens have just gone off. Talks about the production quality here. But yeah, that's how the team went this week. I think for this week, I am going to... if Gross is dropped, I'll probably loop Sarong and McCarthy, which just pains me to say. But for now, I will keep these on. In theory, Chera with a rest, or sort of a rest, I guess he missed a week because he was injured, should be able to go all right against the Suns. If he's out for the season for whatever reason, I haven't heard that, so I'm purely speculating. I will look to trade. We'll discuss that in a second, but I think I'm going to line up like this for now. Or actually, McCarthy's got another good matchup this week. I've just got to get this on field right. The problem is it's hard for me to get this on field because my loop here plays the third game of the round and my loop here plays the first game of the round. So it's actually quite hard. I just have to make a call, I think. I'm not benching the Saints guys. I'm not benching Whitfield against North. I'm not benching Dale against Melbourne. So it'd either be Zorko, Sarong, Chera, or Rosie, I guess. I'm kind of inclined to play Rosie as well. Maybe it's Zorko against the Swans, but he's feasted on the Swans the last few times. I don't know. I've got a call to make there. I'll probably just roll a dice or something and have that make my decision. But for captains this week, the C is going on Bont. I don't know where the VC is going to go. It'll probably start here. But if you have Holmes, I'd be VCing Max Holmes. I could do this if Finn McGuinness isn't picked. That's one that I do like. This has become a must-win game for Collingwood to keep their top 4 chances alive. So I do like those environments for Nick Dacos. But we'll see. If Finn McGuinness is picked, I'm not touching it. And I have a feeling he will be with Will Day injured, which is very sad. Hopefully Will Day can get up and running for next year. All right. If I was to trade Chera, where would I go? Players I can afford. All right, what could I do here? Not touching Jai Newcomb. LDU is interesting. LDU is very interesting, actually, the last 3. Okay, so that's one to look out for. Fletcher, I don't think has the ceiling. I'm trying to go for something with a bit of ceiling here. I'm not saying much. So Banks, I think I'm going to start Banks next year. Very interested in this pick, just as a side note. I can also swing here and just get legitimately anyone. Oh my God, TDK's 388k. That is so bad. So I know, is Sicily, am I priced out of Sicily? Ginnivan, Hart, I must be. Sicily's interesting. Yeah, I am. I don't know. I don't even want to check how much. So I could go Baker, but I'm thinking LDU, to be honest. I'm thinking LDU. I'm not touching Ryan Marriage, even though he scored well last week. I'm thinking LDU for this last one. But that's if I have to trade Chera. I'd rather hold this trade than flip to LDU. Like this having this one trade just doesn't do that much for me at the moment. Because Chera has lost so much cash. I don't know what his break even is, 93. I don't know. Maybe he goes well against the Suns. I guess we'll see. If not, I just play McCarthy. But yeah, I wanted to talk about players that are killing me. Grundy has gone on an absolutely generational run. I think he's gone under 120 once since round 10, which is just absurd. And a lot of those games are over 150. I don't think I've seen a player that hasn't been like extremely high ownership just inflict damage on non-owners like Grundy. I'm sure like before I started playing, like Gorn, Neil, and Gary Ablett Jr. obviously would have all been capable of that. But I don't know if their ownership has been so low to do that, which it's just crazy. Obviously, Grundy went 200 on the weekend. I was going to do Grundy and Duar instead of Gorn and Thilthorpe, but Duar is essentially a dead player. I almost could have got Tim Kelly. I was a few $1,000s off that, which would have been really nice because Tim Kelly is going pretty well over the last couple of games, is my understanding. Yeah, 121, 100. Whew, that would have been nice. Anyway, is what it is. Couldn't afford him anyway. But yeah, Grundy, Holmes, and the two Gold Coast midfielders, Rowell and Anderson, are absolutely caning me at the moment. Like, since I traded in Sarong for the same price that Rowell was when I traded in Sarong, by the way. So they were both about 510 when I made this trade. Rowell has put about 30 points per week on Sarong's head. I did that trade in round 12, where it's been 9 weeks. That's 270 points. Like, I'm getting punished so hard for that decision. And then I wanted to get Anderson as well, but I made too many poor trades at the start of the year that were overly aggressive, like trading out Hewitt when I picked him off no preseason. I was that confident in him. So yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. I think aggressively trading rookies out is good in theory, but a lot of the times you're trading them to players who are dying anyway, like Moraes, Hustwaite. Hustwaite wasn't an earlier one, but like these types of guys, they've just died this year and you got hard punished for playing that way. So I think the logic should be to back in rookies who you believe are capable, even if they have a tough first few games of the season, because they're either playing their first games or they've been coming back from injury or haven't played much senior footy, or there's reasons for them to struggle early but then get going. So I think having some patience with those types of guys would be good. I also think the mindset of, hey, we've got more trades this year, let's play a more aggressive style with these cheaper, more value options. I think that game style hasn't worked as well this year because a lot of people started guys like Short, Perryman, and Roberts, potentially all three, and none of them ended up being keepers. Now, the idea was that defense was so bad that you just pick some of these guys and they go well, but like if you started Holmes, Nass, and Clark, like you're just laughing. You were absolutely laughing in defense. And those are three guys who were relatively popular. So yeah, I don't know. There's a huge learnings for that. I think next year I'm going to try and play a more patient game style or strategy where I pick guys that I'm really backing off form in the back half of this year, a little bit of natural improvement. I want to do some diving into why like guys like Jake Bowie and Lockie Ash were so good this year. When previously they've been like not really primos. I'm sure there were tells for this, but I haven't seen anyone suggest why that would be the case. I don't know if it's just like, time trials or, they hit a certain age or the role was changing, because I noticed the change in Melbourne's game style at the start in the preseason, but I didn't think it would affect Bowie in the way that it did. Like I thought that Windsor would be back there and getting more ball and those sorts of types. So but anyway, I'm rambling now. But yeah, those are the sorts of learnings I'll be taking into next year. But yeah, that's it for me this week, guys. Let me know how you went in the comments below. I hope you had a better week than I did. I hope you guys have a bit of Brodie Grundy and some Noah Anderson, Max Holmes, Matt Rowell in your life. That'd be nice. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.